Do large language models from internal world models? Imagine talking to a computer that seems to understand the world around it. It answers questions, writes stories, and even creates images. But does it really know what it's talking about? That's the big question about large language models. Large language models are advanced artificial intelligence systems trained on huge amounts of text data. They learn patterns and relationships between words and concepts. These models can generate coherent sentences and perform tasks they weren't specifically trained for. But the question is whether they develop an internal representation of how the world works. A world model is like a mental map of reality inside a machine. It helps the system understand cause and effect, spatial relationships, and the flow of events. Humans build these models naturally through experience. But do large language models do the same? Not exactly. They don't build a detailed, unified picture of the world. Instead, they develop what are called internal representations. These are like shortcuts or rules of thumb that help them generate relevant responses. These internal representations have meaning. They help the model understand the relationships between ideas and concepts. For example, if you ask about the weather, the model can produce a sensible answer based on patterns it learned from data. But it doesn't truly understand the weather like a person does. It doesn't have a mental image or a sense of physical reality. It's more like a very advanced pattern matching system. When we look at applications like ChatGPT, DALL-E, or Midjourney, we see how well these models can produce creative content. They can generate images or text that seem to reflect real-world knowledge. Still, they relying on statistical patterns rather than a true internal model of the world. They don't have beliefs about how things work. They just predict what comes next based on what they've seen before. This distinction matters for ethics too. If these models don't truly understand the world, their outputs might sometimes be inaccurate or misleading. They can't make moral judgments or understand context in the way humans do. That's why developers need to carefully evaluate and control how these models are used. In the end, large language models are powerful tools that can mimic understanding in many ways. But they don't from internal world models like humans do. They operate based on learned patterns and representations that help them generate responses. Recognizing this helps us use these models responsibly and set realistic expectations for what they can do.